The North Atlantic in December is no place for the faint of heart. Gray skies merge with steel-colored waters, creating a monochrome canvas broken only by the occasional white-capped wave. Winds howl across the open waters, driving rain sideways and chilling to the bone any sailor unfortunate enough to be caught on deck. In this harsh environment, ships are tiny, fragile things, specks of humanity adrift in a wilderness of water and weather. It was in such conditions, on December 4th, 1872, that the helmsman of the British brigantine Dei Gratia spotted something unusual through his spyglass. A ship, seemingly under sail, but moving erratically, as if no hand guided her course. As the Dei Gratia drew closer, the mystery only deepened. The vessel was the American merchant brigantine Mary Celeste, and she was completely abandoned, a ghost ship sailing the Atlantic with not a soul aboard. The discovery of the Mary Celeste would spawn one of the greatest maritime mysteries of all time, a puzzle that has confounded experts and captivated the public imagination for over 150 years. What happened to her crew? Why would 10 people, including Captain Benjamin Briggs, his wife Sarah, their 2-year-old daughter Sophia, and 7 experienced seamen, abandon a seaworthy vessel in the middle of the ocean, never to be seen again? This is the story of the Mary Celeste, her final voyage, and the enduring mystery of her missing crew. It is a tale of the sea's implacable power, of human vulnerability in the face of nature's might, and of the endless capacity of the unknown to inspire fear, fascination, and wild speculation. In the absence of definitive answers, the ghost ship has become a canvas upon which we project our deepest anxieties about the precariousness of human existence and the thin line between life and oblivion. Chapter 1. The Discovery. Oliver Deveau, first mate of the Dei Gratia, felt a growing sense of unease as he approached the silent vessel. Captain David Morehouse had ordered him to lead a boarding party to investigate the mysterious brigantine they had spotted from a distance of about 5 miles. Morehouse had recognized her as the Mary Celeste, a ship he was familiar with, having dined with her captain, Benjamin Briggs, before their respective departures from New York. Something was clearly amiss. The ship was yawing strangely, her sails partly set, but in disarray. The date was December 4th, 1872, and the location was approximately 400 miles east of the Azores. The Dei Gratia and her crew had departed New York 8 days after the Mary Celeste had set sail from the same port, bound for Genoa, Italy. Finding her here, adrift and apparently abandoned, made little sense. As Devoe's small boat bumped against the hull of the Mary Celeste, he called out. His voice echoed back at him, answered only by the creaking of the ship's timbers and the slap of waves against wood. With mounting apprehension, he and his men climbed aboard. "Hello? Is anyone aboard?" Devoe's calls went unanswered as they moved cautiously across the deck. What the boarding party found, or rather, didn't find, would become the stuff of legend. The ship was completely deserted. There was no sign of Captain Briggs, his family, or any of the 7-man crew. Yet the vessel was in relatively good condition. She was not a derelict or a wreck. She was a fully provisioned, seaworthy ship that appeared to have been suddenly and inexplicably abandoned. The main hatch was secured, and there was about 3.5 feet of water in the hold. Not an alarming amount for a ship of her size in rough weather. Her cargo of 1,701 barrels of industrial alcohol, bound for Genoa, was largely intact, though 9 barrels were found empty. The ship's papers were missing, but the captain's logbook was still present. The last entry, dated 10 days earlier on November 25th, showed the ship's position as being near the island of Santa Maria in the Azores. Deveau noted several other peculiar details. One of the ship's pumps had been disassembled. A sounding rod, used to measure water in the hold, was found on the deck. The ship's only lifeboat was missing, suggesting a deliberate evacuation. A 6-month supply of food and water remained untouched. The crew's pipes and tobacco were still in their quarters. Personal belongings, including valuables, remained undisturbed. Most strikingly, the chronometer, sextant, and navigation equipment were gone. The ship's compass had also been disturbed, with its binnacle moved to the deckhouse. These were items essential for navigation in an open boat, a clear indication that whatever had caused the crew to leave, they had done so with the intention of finding their way somewhere else. "It's as if they left in a great hurry," Devoe remarked to his companions, but without panic. Indeed, there were no signs of violence, struggle, or foul play. No blood, no disarray that couldn't be attributed to the rough weather. The ship's cat, typically the last living being to abandon a vessel in trouble, was also nowhere to be found. After a thorough search confirmed the ship was indeed empty of human life, Devoe returned to the Dei Gratia to report his findings to Captain Morehouse. The decision was made to sail both vessels to Gibraltar, the nearest port of significance. Devoe would captain the Mary Celeste with volunteers from the Dei Gratia, while Morehouse would continue in command of his own vessel. The journey to Gibraltar took 8 days, during which Devoe noted that the Mary Celeste handled well despite her mysterious circumstances. On December 13, 1872, both ships arrived at Gibraltar, where their truly extraordinary tale would begin to unfold before a skeptical Admiralty court. Chapter 2. The Investigation. The port of Gibraltar buzzed with speculation as news of the ghost ship spread. The British Vice Admiralty Court, responsible for maritime matters in this outpost of the Empire, moved quickly to convene a salvage hearing. Such proceedings were routine when ships were found abandoned at sea, but there was nothing routine about the Mary Celeste case. Frederick Solly Flood, Attorney General of Gibraltar and Advocate of the Queen, took charge of the investigation. From the outset, he approached the case with suspicion. To his mind, the discovery was almost too perfect. A valuable ship and cargo found by compatriots of her American owners, with a convenient explanation that defied common sense. Why would an experienced captain like Briggs abandon a seaworthy vessel? The potential for fraud or even more sinister activity seemed high. "I cannot but suspect that a terrible crime has been committed on board," Flood declared as the hearings began on December 18, 1872. The court called Oliver Devoe as its first witness. Under oath, he recounted the discovery in detail, describing the state of the vessel and the curious absence of any sign of struggle or disaster. He maintained that while the ship had clearly weathered a storm, evidenced by some water in the hold and disarray of objects, there was nothing to justify abandonment. Captain Morehouse testified next, explaining his recognition of the vessel and his decision to investigate. He emphasized his prior acquaintance with Captain Briggs, describing him as a thorough seaman, a pleasant, genial man of good reputation. When asked about possible motives for abandonment, Morehouse could offer only conjecture. "In my 30 years at sea, I have never encountered anything like this," he told the court. "No reasonable captain would abandon such a vessel unless facing imminent danger of catastrophic proportions." Flood's suspicions led him to order a thorough examination of the Mary Celeste by surveyors and nautical experts. John Austin, a surveyor for Lloyd's of London, led this examination. His report, delivered on December 23rd, noted several additional details. Stains that might be blood were found on a sword in the captain's cabin. Later tests would prove inconclusive. There were marks on the bow that could indicate a collision. 2 railings appeared to have been cut through, possibly by an axe. Austin concluded that there was evidence of a great rush of water over the vessel. suggesting she had been hit by a squall or large waves severe enough to convince the captain that abandonment was necessary. Yet the overall good condition of the ship contradicted this theory. The investigation also revealed that the Mary Celeste had departed New York on November 7, 1872, carrying a cargo of industrial alcohol valued at approximately $35,000, equivalent to nearly $800,000 today. The ship itself was insured for $14,000. Captain Benjamin Briggs, an experienced mariner with decades of sea time, had acquired a partial ownership stake in the vessel earlier that year. This was to be his first voyage as her master. Testimony from James Winchester, the primary American owner of the vessel, arrived by telegraph. He vouched for Captain Briggs's character and experience, stating, "No more seaworthy vessel sailed from New York, and no more competent navigator or seaman than Captain Briggs took her to sea." Despite extensive inquiry, Flood could find no evidence of foul play definitive enough to support criminal charges. On March 25, 1873, after 3 months of investigation, the Vice Admiralty Court issued its final judgment. The Dei Gratia crew was awarded a salvage payment of £1,700, about 1/5 of the total value, significantly less than the customary 1/3 to 1/2, typically granted in salvage cases. This reduced amount reflected the court's lingering suspicions, though Flood acknowledged he could prove nothing untoward. The official conclusion was vague and unsatisfying. The crew had abandoned ship for unknown reasons, possibly due to fear caused by water in the hold during stormy weather.